Tell me what's life like now, man. I see you got your restaurant in the background. What's life like?
Well, it's been a little tough during the COVID because it's a lot of code compliance that we have to deal with. But we fought through it. We actually, I came in as a partner in November at Taco Patron, and we're going through a transition. It's going to be called Patron Social. But I was sitting here one day, and everything was shut down. The whole city was shut down, and all the restaurants, all the bars, we were in the lockdown in Dallas. And I was looking around the building, and I looked in the kitchen. I said, what's the best asset in this building? And it was the kitchen. And I said, you know what, we got to change the menu because, kind of out of the box that people are not going to eat the same food every day. If we're going to get them to come pick up food, you're not going to eat McDonald's every day. You're not going to eat Kentucky every day. So we kind of switched the menu up. So each day we have a different item on the menu outside of the tacos that we sell that are real good. And it's been a success. We've done well during the pandemic. We've done real well.
What's your favorite item on the menu, Kevin?
Well, it's funny. I'm a Louisiana guy and seafood is my number one thing. So, we went through the crawfish season. We had crawfish, we had boiled crab. We did pretty much everything. But I'm a steak and potato man. So I do a Cajun steak that's pretty good. It's spicy. A lot of people, if you don't like the spice, you may not like the steak. But we do a little bit. We do a stuffed potato. On Sundays we do this stuffed turkey leg. And we put any toppings you want on it, from dirty rice to, shrimp creole. We put a dressing on it. You can get macaroni and cheese with shrimp. You can load this big turkey leg that could probably feed 3 people. And you can get anything you want on it. So, it just depends on what day it is.
Hey, what's the perfect taco, Kevin?
The perfect taco, again, I'm a seafood guy, so I like the shrimp tacos, the tropical shrimp tacos we have here. Our steak tacos are pretty good. Our bowls, we do the bowls kind of like the Chipotle bowls. So you can take that same taco meat that you like, and we have a good rice, Spanish rice with black bean, and you can create a bowl. We call it Patron bowl. So we've been kind of creative over here, and it just depends. You got to come over here and try it out. Some people like some things, and others like others.
So Patron Social will soon be the new name of your establishment.
Right.
Kevin, how did football life and being a Dallas Cowboy prepare you for being a business owner?
Well, it's funny because, the partners that I'm with and even the staff that we bring together, all my analogies go back to Jimmy Johnson, Jackie Sherrill, R.C. Slocum, all the guys that were great, my high school coaches, just that the foundation of having, you got to have a process, you got to have a system, and you got to have some loyalty, you got to have trust. And it's got to be all the way across the board. And if any one of those any one of those 3 that's broken, and there's other things that factor in, but that builds accountability, that builds trust, responsibility, just having the right people that's willing to do the things that when you come in here and people see me, they see me in the kitchen, they see me picking up trash, they see me cleaning the bathroom. I'm not going to ask no one to do nothing that I wouldn't do. So as a worker, if you see me doing that, then you should. I wouldn't call them workers. I like to call people not so much workers, but people that I'm building something with. Then if they see me doing it, they don't have a problem doing it at all.
That's a from the grassroots effort mentality you have. And, I don't know you that well, but I guess it's surprising for me because I think of you as the blue chipper. You were the All-American in college. You were the guy who was the prototypical cornerback, and now you're getting your hands dirty.
Well, you have to. I grew up in Orange, Texas. And my father taught me a long time ago. He taught me, he brought me out to fish a couple times as a young kid. And initially he baited my line, and he'd throw the line out there, and he almost have to reel the fish in. So it goes back to the old analogy. You don't hunt, you don't kill nothing, you don't eat. So that's been a philosophy through my family from day one. I went to college at 18. My dad said, I don't care what you do. You can go graduate. You don't have to graduate. You can play pro football. You don't have to, but you're not coming back here. So the philosophy is, you don't hunt nothing, you don't kill nothing. And that's been my philosophy as a smaller guy growing up. I'm a little bit bigger now. I'm 50 pounds over my playing weight. But as a kid, I was always small, and I always had to fight a little harder and prove to others that, hey, I deserve to be in that spot, or I deserve more playing time, or whatever. But, that's just something that's instilled in my family from day one, that, you got to work for something. Nothing's going to be given to you. So, and if you want something and you want it done right, sometimes you got to do it yourself.
Kevin, we're coming up on the 25-year anniversary of the last time the Dallas Cowboys won a Super Bowl title. You were a member of 3 Super Bowl title teams. Does that even make sense when you hear that? 25 years, does that make sense?
It really doesn't. And the reason why is because you've had some great players walk in and out of those doors at Valley Ranch, and now that's the star where the Cowboys are. I mean, you got Hall of Famers. You got Tony Romo. You got Jason Witten. You know, DeMarcus Ware. Those are the 3 names that pop up off the top of your head. But those guys are Hall of Famers, and you got other guys. They got a great team right now. But for what I don't know what the missing link was. I mean, I love Jason. I love Jason to death, Jason Garrett. But I think we kind of held on to that rope maybe 2 or 3 years longer than they needed to. Just playing subpar, being in the middle of the road football with some talented teams, and sometimes it's luck. Sometimes, it's the luck of the ball, the bounce of the ball. But it wasn't even the case with us, with the Cowboys, the last, 5 or 6 years with Jason under the helm. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine, that, we're in the same boat with some teams that hadn't been there. So I think it's 3 or 4 teams that hadn't even been to a championship game in the last 25 years, and the Cowboys are one of them. That's kind of, they're down there with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns and a few other teams that you expect to be down there and not in the competition level of competing for a championship. So, we got the talent. It's just I don't know what the issue is. Hopefully they get it together with the new coach.
What was it that made the Cowboys of the 90s that you were a prominent member of? What was it that made those teams so special?
Well, I actually, with the political stuff going on right now with, the Republican and Democrat and Trump and, and I'm sort of in between. I'm more of an independent, but Coach Campo, he's more to the right with Trump. And we can talk about this, but he made a comment on Facebook the other day, and my response to him was, Coach, it's not so much the policy of Trump. It's not so much of a Republican policy. It's just divisive ways, the divisive rhetoric. And I said, that wouldn't have worked in our locker room. One thing that Jimmy and them did well, and the other coaches, was they took a bunch of alpha guys, the Michael Irvins of the world. Alvin Harper was the best guy at Tennessee. Emmett was the best at Florida. Darren Wilson was the best at Arizona State. Troy was the best at UCLA. I was pretty one of the top guys at A&M. You take a Charles Haley, who's definitely was the best guy at James Madison. So you take all those alpha guys and alpha dogs with all these personalities, and you get one common goal. So at some point, as the country has to do, we have to meet in the middle somewhere. You can't be to the far right or the far left. At some point, Jimmy did a great job of getting all us to hone in on one common goal, and that was the only way that we was going to have that kind of. We had the talent, but the talent alone wasn't going to get you to where we got, because we needed all believe in each other, that trust, that process, that system. And once we believed in that, then, it's just like the policy. Once we don't have to agree on everything. We didn't like each other. We had fights and we had arguments, and everybody didn't get along. Troy didn't get along with Michael some days, and me and Michael fought, and me and Woody fought sometimes. Dan Woodson, we had our disagreements, but at the end of the day, we had a common goal and a common reason to accomplish that goal. And that whatever the goal was, for us was Super Bowl, for this country, we need to get rid of this pandemic. It's not left, it's not right. It's about what we need to do to get rid of this virus that's out there.
How were those battles with Michael Irvin, since you bring that up? I can't even imagine him not talking, and I love Michael Irvin. But how were those battles?
When I watched Mike in the interview, and he they said, Mike, who's the toughest guys you played against? He'll say, of course, Darryl Green and Eric Allen and Aeneas Williams, because those guys are in our conference, and he would say a few other guys. And I'd look at the screen like, wait a minute, Mike, what about me? You had to practice against me every day. I think I'm the one who made you better, because your best years were the years that I first got to the Cowboys. But, Mike made me better. Trust me, I didn't make him that much better than he made me, because, Mike was more than just an athlete, which he was a great athlete, but he wasn't like the LeBron James type guy. He was just a guy that, what he lacked in on one end, he studied, he created a science of it. And, if you got Mike one way, he'd come sit with me at lunch. And he said, hey, man, well, what was you thinking? Why did you cover me like that? And I'd tell him, I shouldn't have told him because it was only helping. It helped him be better as a player. But he'd come get me. In practice, he'd embarrass me in Austin. But that's the kind of guy he was. He would like, if it was something he was struggling on the slant route or, he'd come and sit down 2 days in a row. Like, well, what was you looking at? What was you thinking? Why did you sit inside? What gave it away? So that's kind of what Mike did. And I fed off him as well. Mike, what are they doing? What are they thinking? Why do they make this step? Jerry Rice is a little different. The only guy he couldn't tell me about was Jerry Rice. He was like, you're on your own with Jerry. But, Chris Carter and those guys, they pretty much all did it the same. But Jerry Rice is like, just go out there and do what you got to do. Keep him under 200 yards. And that's kind of how it was, yeah.
Kevin, of all those personalities, which one during that 3 titles in a 4-year span, which one stuck out the most? Because you had all those big personalities.
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, you got a guy that, you can ask that. And of course, Michael Irvin is the first name that's going to come out. But a lot of people don't know that Leon Lett is probably one of the better guys in the whole wide world. And he's probably one of the locker room, he's a shy guy. But, you feed into a guy like Leon, because he's working hard. He doesn't say much. He likes to have fun. And, people wouldn't think that Leon had a great character, or one of those guys that stick out. Kenny Gant, you can't bypass Kenny Gant during those years. Of course, Alvin Harper had a different, everybody had a different way. Mark Tournay was a different animal. He was one of the biggest pranksters on the team. You had guys like Tony Tolbert who handled their business, didn't say much. You had to respect that. I mean, so it was different guys who had characters, but the one that sticks out the most, of course, is going to be Michael. Because Michael was more boisterous. Eamon had a different way about carrying himself. And I think all that, like pot of gumbo, we talked about food earlier, all that blended in, well, to make that perfect ingredient, to make that perfect gumbo. And I think that was part of our success. Was not so much our talent, it was our characters. We all liked each other. We didn't get along all the time, but in the end of the day, we all really respected and we loved each other. I mean, we had guys like Al Walker. Keith, you've been over there. Al's still working with the Cowboys. Al was the guy who picked up towels and picked up the jocks, and Al had a part in this. Al has 3 Super Bowl rings. Al's been with the Cowboys 30 years, and he's got a good pension plan. He's doing better than some of the guys who played there 8, 9, 10 years. So Al had a part in that deal. We teased and joked with Al, and that was just like it was. And I think the biggest part, I was just talking to Dion recently. We were talking through Instagram, and one of the biggest things that most guys miss is not so much the field. They don't miss so much the game days. They miss that locker room. That just being in the locker room, the joking, the dominoes, the cards, the traveling, all those things that built the team up, that allowed the plays to happen on Sunday, was those kind of things, that locker room camaraderie. And that's what most guys miss the most.
How would you describe your career, Kevin? Because I knew you as an opponent growing up where I grew up. I knew you as an opponent. And I was like, man, that dude's the prototypical cornerback. You come out as a high draft pick, you instantly, burst on the scene. You end up your rookie year starting. You end up winning a Super Bowl title in your first 2 seasons in the league.
Right.
You suffer the Achilles injury. You come back strong. You have a 9-year career. How do you sum up your career? The Achilles, everybody goes back to the Achilles tendon, and I guess that's the thing that sticks out the most. But I think I watched some of the old games. I didn't really watch a lot of football or replays of our games until recently. A lot of people uploading old games, so I'm watching them now. And a lot of the games, football, I don't really remember because we played a lot of bump and run. And so his plays I didn't see because Haley sacked the quarterback and Leon picked it up and ran in for a touchdown. I don't really remember that because I was covering a guy 40 yards down the field. So there's a lot of football that I'm seeing now that I didn't see back then. But for overall, from high school, and I wore 26. A lot of people don't know that I wore the number 26 high school, college, and in the NFL. So I was able to wear the same number. I was able to play this game that I love in the state of Texas, from Orange to Texas A&M to the Dallas Cowboys. So I mean, who can say that? Not a lot of people can say that. I'm in the Texas A&M Hall of Fame. I'm in the Texas High School Hall of Fame. That's a great feeling. That's a great feeling. But one thing that I fell short of was, the NFL Hall of Fame. And I really think if I hadn't, torn my Achilles and had back issues, middle of my career and then later on in my career, I think I could have,
achieve, somewhere close to that. I don't know. It's kind of hard. I mean, Darren Woodson is not in there. I mean, he's fighting to get in there, and he deserves to get in there. But but overall, I mean, it was a great career. I wouldn't change it for nothing else. Great memories. Met some great guys. Was around some great coaches. Not just great coaches, but great men. The Jimmy Johnsons of the world, Barry Switches of the world, Jackie Sher, R.C. Slocum. Those guys taught me quite a bit. How to be a human, how to be a man, and just how to be accountable. And I think that's what's some of the things that'll get you through life. There's nothing like the game of football. It's just you got so many guys, so many personalities, and but you got to have one come and go. Joe Avisano was a guy that was very instrumental. I met him at 17 years old at A&M. Coached me with the Cowboys. So all those guys are all really from the same coaching tree. I don't know if you know that, Keith, but Jackie Sherrill was at Pittsburgh, and Jimmy Johnson and Dave Wannstedt and Campo, and all those guys worked on him in 1978, 78. Jimmy went to Oklahoma State, and Jackie ended up coming to Pittsburgh, A&M with Avisano and not Dave Wann, but Bob Davey and a lot of those other guys. So it wasn't really about me. It was a system. Those guys had a system. I just kind of filled into that system and used a little bit of my athletic ability with it. But it was great. I wouldn't change it for anything, my career.
What was it that allowed you to overcome? Because you're right. When I think of Kevin Smith, I think this dude was dynamic. Then I remember the Achilles, and it kind of goes blank. When I'm preparing for this interview, Kevin, and I'm reading your Wikipedia, I didn't know you came back that strong the year in 96.
Actually, my 96 season was probably one of my better NFL years. And it was because I worked so hard to get back on the field. And a lot of it after that was mostly, what's that, JR? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Hold on, Keith. So a lot of that was my fault. Because after my 96 season, I got kind of complacent. And all the work that I put into that 95 recovery from the Achilles with Mike Warsick. Mike Warsick, the strength coach, just retired with the Cowboys. And Britt Brown, who's a trainer still with the Cowboys. We did a lot of work, man. A guy named Norm was a trainer for the Stars. They had just fired him, and he came over and helped us out. But those three guys really got me back. And the things that got me back on the field and got me to play well in 96, in 97, I got complacent. I stopped doing I thought I was, the other guys, when they were gone, I was spending 2 hours extra at the facility because I had to ice down. And then once I started playing better and had some good stats, I stopped doing some of those things. And the wear and tear kind of start tearing, because once you get in your 7th, 8th, 9th year, then your body starts to break down. I train young athletes now, and I tell them once you get to that 27, 28, you can't train like you're 21, 22 no more. You can't lift those weights. You gotta be more, you gotta think more, not so much lift weights heavy. You gotta think more of your body, taking care of your body, your flexibility, yoga and stuff. I mean, massages, a whole bunch of other things I should have been doing, I got away from. And so, we had the Cowboy Cafe back then. Everybody's at the Cowboy Cafe. I'm at the facility. So I said, to hell with this workout. After workout, I'm going to the Cowboy Cafe because I need some wings. I want to sit up there with Mike and whoever else was on the team at the time. But that was my biggest thing, 97, 98, 99. Then the back problems came in, and then that's when everything went downhill. Once your back goes, it's over with.
Kevin, why do they call you Pup?
Well, that's a good story.
Preparing, I was like, "Who's Pup?" Oh, that's Kevin Smith.
Well, I'm the youngest of 6, and I have sisters that are twins. That my sisters are like 3 years older than me. And I had 3 older brothers, and then when I was born, they brought me home from the hospital. And right before they brought me home, my sisters had a little puppy dog, and some kind of way I think the car ran out the house and got hit by a car or something. And so my brothers were, stopped them from crying. They said, well, hey, Mom, Mom's bringing the puppy home so you guys can stop crying, the girls. So they brought me home, and I was all wrapped up, and I'm in the crib, and they're like, they were like, why can't we go in the crib and pet our puppy? Why can't we mess with it? And my mom was like, you can't mess with him. So they thought I was a puppy, so they called me Pups. So I've been Pups since the first day I walked in the house, and they never left, Now I went to A&M. A funny story, I went to A&M, and there was a guy named Rod Harris, and his son, Devontae Harris, a House of Heroes right now. I don't know, I think they're on McKinney, whatever else, but Rod Harris, it was another corner that came in with me named Derek Frazier. So he said, man, those guys look like Frank Minifield and Hamper Dixon. So they call us Minifield and Dixon. So for the whole 3 or 4 years of the A&M, everybody thought my name was Kevin Minifield. And so everybody at A&M called me, well, they changed it to Mini Feet. So I was Mini Feet for about 3 or 4 years, and I came to Dallas, and I went back to Pup. So I've been
Okay.
pup for, I guess, 47 of my 50 years. I was 3 years at A&M. I was called Minifee. So, nicknames kind of stick.
Yeah, pup, but you're the big dog, man. You're one of the big
Yeah.
dogs. And Kevin, as we let you get back to your restaurant and running the business, before we let you run, when you think of that span, how great was it? I mean, we talked about the personalities, but to win 3 Super Bowl titles, and to be quite honest, you probably should have won 4 in a
We
row.
should have won more. Yeah, we should have won more.
How great was that dynasty when you put it in perspective and you see what's happening today? And how great was it to be a part of that?
Well, it was awesome, and again, you got to go back. The one thing that made that happen was, of course, Jerry bought the team. He brought on a guy named Jimmy, So, and not only that, the Herschel Walker trade. That's ultimately why it happened, because when you can stack that much talent, and you can get guys like Jimmy Smith, and stack them behind Dan Woodson, and you go to third round and get 2 guys, fourth round and get 2 guys. When you can stack guys, that means you're taking a chance on guys. We had third and fourth and fifth round linemen that they cut, that they did not keep, that went on and played. Ron Stone and guys went and played 14, 15 years in the NFL. So it was awesome because we had so much talent. And I think Daryl Johnson said it best. I've heard him say it a few times, is that during that time, we didn't know how good we were. And Jimmy didn't allow us to let us know how good we were. So we were just like, we would run through a wall for each other. And that was the mentality. And we really didn't know how good we were. So we just went out there and we dominated. I mean, the games we lost, we weren't supposed to lose. If you look at some of those games, the Miami game in the snow, it's a few games we lost by 1 and 2 points. I mean, we really shouldn't have lost. If it was 6 games, we lost 5 of them, we probably should have won. And teams were hyped up the players, but they were terrified to play Eric Williams. They was terrified to go against Charles Haley. They were terrified to go against Emmett and Mike. And we were just that dominant in teams. They respected us to the utmost. And, with the free agency, Ken Norton left, a few other guys left. That's what kind of broke up, kind of what we did. We brought Deion in. But at that point, we were getting a little older. Free agency had stepped up. But at that point, we were probably, the 90s, the early 90s through the, mid-90s, we were probably one of the best teams to ever exist as far as talent across the board. And still current, the 70s Steelers are pretty dang good too now.
Now, what about the comparison between Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer? I know a lot of people want to ask that because obviously Jimmy won the 2 and Barry lost, in the NFC title. Well, you guys lost in the NFC title game with Barry, and then you guys redeemed yourself the following year.
Right.
How would you compare their coaching styles and their demeanors and their auras?
Well, 2 different. Again, they go. Those 2 guys go way back. With Barry, I think Barry and Jimmy. Barry was coaching at Arkansas and coached Jimmy and Jerry, I think. And I think they at one point they coached together. But and I don't know if they're great friends, but they go back. But it's 2 different personalities. Jimmy is more. Barry's more of and Jimmy's a great. He's a player's coach, but it's just 2 different personalities how they handle it. Jimmy's kind of the stern father, would give you the eye, and Barry's more the guy that's going to hug you and kind of joke with you a little bit. Hey, you've been acting up, in school. I need you to act better. Whereas Jimmy's going to be like, you've been acting up in school. I got this belt over here when you get home. So it's just 2 different, 2 different ways of handling things, and I think they both worked. Jimmy was probably, in the end, he learned how to be more of a professional football coach, whereas, Barry still felt college approach was the way to work with professional guys. And I think that was his downfall. He kind of, when he came up, he was kind of like, you guys professionals act professionals, but it's not always the case. When you got young guys, you got young 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys, the Troy Aikman's, the older guys that are mature, that understands the business, understands how to be professionals. They can handle that. But you had some guys, the younger guys, that 23, 24-year-old guys with $1 million in their bank account. It's hard to keep them in at night, not break curfew, and and not run around in Austin. And if they do and they get in trouble, then it's just a slap on the wrist. Whereas Jimmy, you felt like death was going to come if you got caught out. So those are 2 different approaches. I think that's the only downfall. I love both of them because Barry recruited me, Jimmy recruited me. As a 16, 17-year-old kid, I got to meet Barry. You know, from University of Oklahoma to come into my high school, that was like the biggest thing in the world for Jimmy Johnson to come in, you know, at Miami, for Jackie Sherrill to walk through those doors, and, you know, some of the top coaches ever. You know, I met those guys at 16, 17 years old when they were recruiting me. And then to be able to go through that cycle as a professional athlete, not just a professional athlete, but as a, you know, semi-grown man at 25, 26, 27, and still have those guys in my life. It's quite amazing. It's a great story.
Kevin, we're going to let you run, but not without one piece of advice for young people in this day and age, based on, you know, your background, making it to the level you made it to, being a 3-time Super Bowl champion, now still being successful in your post-career, being a business owner. A lot of people out there, young people especially, with no direction and wondering what's next for them. What's your biggest piece of advice for them?
Well, you got to find a purpose. You got to find a purpose in life, and then you have to be able to put a plan together. Find that purpose, put the plan together, and then here's the 3 things. You got to have the process, the system, and you got to have trust. Those 3 things. If you got those 3 things, you know, have a purpose, put a plan together. It's got to be process, system, and you got to have people that you trust, people that's loyal to you. If you don't have those, then it's not going to be too easy. It's not going to be easy to get through life. But I mean, you know, sometimes information overload can kill you too. I think, you know, with the internet and social media, you know, knowing too much right now is hampering a lot of young kids because they think they know everything and they don't know, you know, they don't know anything. So I think you got to focus on what you're really trying to do. You know, put those 3 things together: process, system, and trust, and I think you'll be all right.